The Tennessee Titans dominated day one of free agency. I'm breaking down all the signings and what comes next on today's edition of the Locked On Titans podcast. Let's get it.
You are Locked On Titans, your daily Tennessee Titans podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome to the Locked On Titans podcast. I am your host, Tyler Rowland. Titans fans, today's edition of the Locked On Titans podcast is brought to you by FanDuel. Make every moment more. Right now, new customers get $200 in bonus bets with any winning $5 bet. That's $200 if your bet wins. Visit FanDuel.com/LockedOn to get started. The Tennessee Titans dominate on day one of free agency, and the action isn't even over yet. Three big signings: Tony Pollard at running back, Lloyd Cushenberry at center, and Chidobe Awuzie at cornerback. I'm going to be breaking down each signing, grading each signing, plus telling you who the Titans are still in on in free agency and what we can expect going forward. A lot to get into on today's show. Before we get into it, thank you for making the Locked On Titans podcast your first listen each and every day. Remember, Monday through Friday, Tennessee Titans content all year round, always for free. You're not going to beat that anywhere else. Make sure that you get subscribed, stay subscribed to the number one Tennessee Titans podcast in the world. It's your team every day, and I'm going to be breaking down the news every single day this week. There's going to be so much of it, but number one, my overall thought here is I give the Tennessee Titans an A- for their day one activity so far. Again, Tony Pollard, Lloyd Cushenberry, Chidobe Awuzie. I'm going to break down all of those signings individually, but overall, I give Ran Carthon an A- for his performance. He went out. The running backs went early. It was a bit of a surprise of free agency is how valued the running backs were, how many running backs went off the board in day one, but the Titans went and they strike early on that position and get Tony Pollard. They fill an absolute devastating need at center with Lloyd Cushenberry. Fantastic signing there. And then adding at cornerback where the Titans really needed help and needed two people ultimately at the end of the day to get a good one in Chidobe early in the process. That was huge. So overall, an A- for the Tennessee Titans. But they started the day with what I think is maybe the most shocking, the most surprising deal that I saw them make of the day, and that was Tony Pollard, former running back from the Dallas Cowboys. The Titans are giving Tony Pollard a 3-year, $24 million deal. Now, we haven't got the guaranteed money on that yet, and my initial reaction was I didn't want to pay $8 million a season for a running back. I didn't want to be that high. I didn't want it to be that expensive. But we don't know the guaranteed money yet. And without knowing the guaranteed money and exactly how long the Titans are tied to Pollard and what the amount is, it's hard to really speak on the finances too much. Now, DeAndre Swift got a 3-year, $24 million deal worth about $15 million in guarantees. I'm guessing that Tony Pollard is probably going to be pretty close to that number. So in reality for the Titans, you're looking at about a 2-year deal worth about $7.5–8 million a season. A little pricey, in my opinion, but I understand why they did it. Tony Pollard, 6 foot, 209 pounds, only 27 years old. He had back-to-back 1,000-yard seasons. So if you're somebody who's worried about Tajay Spears being the lead back, well, then this Tony Pollard signing makes a ton of sense for you. Again, 1,007 yards last year, 1,005 yards this year, and that was coming off of an ankle break that he was recovering from. He had 55 catches for 311 yards in 2023. He had 39 catches and 371 yards and 3 touchdowns in 2022. So he's a guy who not only is a 1,000-yard rusher, but also is somebody who can catch the ball proficiently out of the backfield and make plays. And I think that's the number one thing for me is this signing of Tony Pollard allows the Titans that versatility, allows the Titans to not show their hand. This is something that I talked about with Derrick Henry. It wasn't necessarily just the money that I was worried about with re-signing Derrick Henry. It was when you have Derrick Henry out on the field, you are telling the defense, hey, we're probably going to run the ball. You are not as equipped to pass the ball. So with Tony Pollard and Tyjae Spears, in my opinion, Tony Pollard is just a taller version of Tyjae Spears. He's a slippery runner. He can run the outside zone that the Titans are going to be using. I think that Tony Pollard is exactly like Tyjae Spears. So rather than having a power back or whatever, you have two versions of the same running back, and you don't have to play your hand in front of the defense for them to see. They're not going to know what's coming. You can run the same exact plays with Tony Pollard as you can with Tyjae Spears. And the data is out there. You could check my Twitter account at Tic Tac Titans. Tyjae Spears is one of the best short yardage runners in the NFL. So you're worried about having a short yardage back. Tyjae Spears is that. So Tony Pollard and Tyjae Spears together is a very, very good pairing. And again, I told you, Tony Pollard was coming off a broken ankle, and he had a little bit of a down beginning to the season. According to No Flags Film, week 11 on, Tyjae Spears was number 12, or this is according to Warren Sharp. Tyjae Spears was number 12 in the NFL in success rate among running backs. He was number 12 in percentage of his runs that went for first downs or touchdowns after week 11. So once he got a little more comfortable after the broken ankle, he was fantastic. According to No Flags Films, weeks 1 through 9, he only had 8 missed tackles forced. The rest of the season, he forced 38 missed tackles. So once he got past that injury situation and got into the back half of the season, he was absolutely ridiculous. Okay? And people say he had a down year in 2022. According to Titans Film Room, he broke more tackles per touch in 2023 than he did in 2022, 17.8 to 9.8. So you look at the advanced data, you look at the raw box stats of being a 1,000-yard rusher, being able to catch the ball out of the backfield, whether you're looking at the advanced data, whether you're looking at the simple data, whether you're looking at the fit in the offense, that's going to be more of a passing offense and not that run that ball down your throat, old school style. This is going to be 3 wide receivers, speed running backs who can catch the ball out of the backfield. I think it's a fantastic fit. And the last thing I want to tell you with the numbers, according to Next Gen Stats, Tony Pollard had 819 yards after contact, the third most in the NFL. He only had 1,005 yards on the year, and 819 were after contact. So Tony Pollard still has the juice. It wasn't like he tore an ACL. It wasn't like he had a hamstring tear. It wasn't like, he blew a knee. He broke an ankle. And yeah, it would take a little while to get comfortable back from that. But once he got comfortable back from that, Tony Pollard was absolutely fantastic. Again, back-to-back 1,000-yard rusher for $8 million or most likely less at the end of the day. It's probably a 2-year deal worth about $15, $16 million. All right, so I think that if we learn more about the financials, I'll be more excited about the move, but I see the fit. I understand the fit. I think Tony Pollard is a good football player. I'm going to give it a B right now. I'm going to give the Tony Pollard signing a B. Let me know what grade you guys would give the Tony Pollard signing. Now, it's time to talk about my favorite signing of the day, Lloyd Cushenberry. The Tennessee Titans signed that Cush. So excited to dive in to help on the offensive line. Before we get into it, though, do want to let you guys know that today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. Say goodbye to busted brackets because FanDuel lets you bet on every game of the tourney, whether you're betting on a big upset or the number 1 seed. It's time to go dancing on America's number 1 sportsbook. Right now, new customers get $200 in bonus bets if your first $5 bet wins. That's $200 to use on point spreads, money lines. You can even pick who's going to win it all. So whether it's college basketball or you want to get in on the action during the best part of the NBA season, make sure that you visit FanDuel.com/lockedon. That's LOCKEDON and bet on college hoops until they cut down the nets. fans, let's continue today's live edition of the Locked On Titans podcast, breaking down day one of free agency. The Tennessee Titans signed Tony Pollard. I gave that signing a B. He's a good player. The Titans got good value, it seems, but maybe a little pricey for my liking with the running back position. But I know a lot of you guys wanted to see a good player there to pair with Tajay Spears. I'm giving the deal a B. I gave the Titans an A- overall for the day, and a lot of that had to do with signing Lloyd Cushenberry, the best signing of the day for the Titans. They get the number one center on the free agent market. Absolutely love that move. We're going to dive into it more. Before we do, thank you for making the Locked On Titans podcast your first listen each and every day, Monday through Friday, and bonus episodes on the weekends a lot of time too. Tennessee Titans content all year round, always for free. You're not going to beat that anywhere else. Make sure you get subscribed, stay subscribed. It's your team every day here on the Locked On Titans podcast. Also, you guys listening to the podcast version, 5-star reviews would be greatly appreciated. Don't ask for a lot from you guys, but giving me some 5-star reviews for all the work we've been doing throughout free agency, again, would be greatly appreciated. But with that being said, Lloyd Cushenberry, my favorite signing of the day from the Tennessee Titans. They fill the center need with the top target in free agency, Lloyd Cushenberry, 6'4". All right, so the days of having a tiny center, the smallest center in the NFL, those days are over, okay? Those days are over. 6'4", 315 pounds, only 26 years old. Fits the Titans' timeline perfectly, can grow with this offensive line. I'm expecting, we saw big deals for the interior offensive line on Monday. I'm expecting 3 years, $50 million, maybe $30 million guaranteed. It's probably going to be a little bit more than that now that, you know, the other interior offensive linemen kind of got big deals. I mean, there's no way around it. We saw some crazy deals, especially with Robert Hunt, but I'll talk about that a little bit later in the show. But I love this move from the Titans. Lloyd Cushenberry has great power, great size. He's going to anchor. And again, I kept saying it, and I feel bad because I don't want to hate on Aaron Brewer here, but this is like the anti-Aaron Brewer. Instead of being one of the smallest centers in the NFL, he's one of the bigger centers in the NFL, one of the stronger centers in the NFL. Instead of being a guy who gets bowled over by the bull rush easily, he's a guy with great anchor, with strong hands, who can punch and power through guys and strike early. I love that about Lloyd Cushenberry, one of the best pass protectors in the NFL. Last year among qualified centers, he had the third best pass blocking grade on Pro Football Focus. He allowed only 1 sack, which was second best among centers in the NFL, and only 14 pressures, which was second fewest among centers in the NFL. Compare that to Aaron Brewer, who gave up 6 sacks, which was the second most in the NFL, and 34 pressures, which was the most of any starting center in the NFL. The Titans are going from the worst pass blocking starting center in the NFL to one of the best pass blocking centers in the NFL. And the Tony Pollard signing and the Lloyd Cushenberry signing are just more examples of how this Tennessee Titans offense is going to be fundamentally different. Okay, this isn't the drag them down into the mud, 3 yards in a cloud of dust, beat them up, caveman, run the ball football that we have seen from the Titans basically every single time, every single season for the last however long. So seeing the Titans go after a speed running back when they already have a speed running back, a versatile running back who can catch the ball when they already have a versatile running back who can catch the ball. To see them go after a pass blocking first offensive lineman with great power. Look, Cushenberry has great athleticism too. He has the athleticism to climb to the second level. He has the athleticism to take on twists and stunts and move his feet and stay mobile. He has the ability to do all of that, which is why he's going to get a good payday from the Titans. So to see Lloyd Cushenberry and Tony Pollard, just from a philosophical standpoint, to see that happen, absolutely ridiculous. I mean, it goes back to how excited we were about the Titans changing their front office structure, the Titans adding more analytics people, the Titans hiring Brian Callahan, the things that the Titans are doing now to modernize their process and turn into a modern offense. We are seeing that go from the front office level to the coaching level and now to the roster level with Tony Pollard and Lloyd Cushenberry. I'm giving Lloyd Cushenberry an A+. That is an A+ for me. I don't there is no dollar amount. That's not true. That's not true. But there is no realistic dollar amount to where I'm going to be worried about paying Lloyd Cushenberry. Like, the Titans got Ben Jones, and it stabilized the offensive line for multiple years. All right? I think this is that kind of move. Let me know your guys' grades down below. What would you grade the Tony Pollard signing? What would you grade the Lloyd Cushenberry signing? What would you grade the Chidobe Awuzie signing? I'm going to talk about Awuzie here in just a moment, but finishing up my thoughts on Lloyd Cushenberry. So we talked about how pass protection, great anchor, strong hands. He's a good athlete, second-level climb, twist and stunts, but he's also reliable. 3 out of his 4 years, Cushenberry has played 16 games or more, played 1,000 snaps or more. 3 out of his 4 seasons. All right. He had bad coaching, basically, and a ton of different coaches leading up to 2023. He gets to 2023, and again, 1 sack allowed, 14 pressures allowed, a 76.4 pass blocking grade. That's 3rd best in the NFL. He also had the 13th best run blocking grade in the NFL. So it's not like he's a slouch in run blocking either. So I love this signing of Lloyd Cushenberry. It's fantastic. Then we got TNT in the backfield with Tajay and Tony Pollard. Love those signings. But then the Titans keep it going and finally add a cornerback. Chidobe Awuzie is a Tennessee Titan. We're going to talk about that signing. Plus, what will the Titans do next? We got a lot of rumors and a lot to discuss. Before we get into the rest of it, though, do want to let you guys know that today's episode is brought to you by BetterHelp Online Therapy. Guys, here's something that we all need to discuss. If you had an extra hour in your day, what would you do? Would you go for a run? Would you take a nap? Would you read a book? Look, a lot of us spend our lives wishing that we had more time, but the question is, for what? The best way to squeeze that special thing into your schedule is to know what's important to you and make it a priority. Therapy can help you find out what matters most to you so you can do more of it. I've done therapy with BetterHelp. It was incredibly beneficial. They made it really easy to do. I felt really comfortable the entire time, and it really helped me center myself. And again, it helps you prioritize the things that are important to you. So if you're thinking about starting therapy, give BetterHelp a try. It's entirely online, designed to be convenient, flexible, and suited to your schedule. You just fill out a brief questionnaire to get matched with a licensed therapist, and you can switch therapists at any time for no additional charge. Learn to make time for what makes you happy with BetterHelp. Visit BetterHelp.com/lockedon today to get 10% off your first month. That's BetterHelp, HELP.com/lockedon. Titans fans, let's cap off today's recap of day 1 of free agency. I thought the Tennessee Titans dominated out there. 3 big signings: Tony Pollard, Lloyd Cushenberry, Chidobe Awuzie. Great stuff from the Titans, and there's still more to come. We talked about Tony Pollard. I gave that a B. We talked about Lloyd Cushenberry. I gave that an A+. Now I'm going to grade the Awuzie deal and talk about what comes next. Before I do, thank you for making the Locked On Titans podcast your first to listen each and every day, Monday through Friday. Tennessee Titans content all year round, always for free. Make sure that you get subscribed, stay subscribed. It's your team every day here on the Locked On Titans podcast. Also, check out the 24/7 Locked On Sports Today channel on YouTube. It's also on Amazon Fire TV and the free Fire TV channels app. Again, Locked On Sports Today is 24/7 coverage of the top sports stories of the day. You get local experts like me from Locked On. You get coverage on every league from our national shows. Find Locked On Sports Today now available on the free Fire TV channels app. But I am giving the Awuzie deal an A-. All right, so Awuzie, 6 foot, 200 pounds, 28 years old. I think that he's going to get anywhere from 12 to 14 million, probably 10 to 13 million dollars a year. So you're thinking 3 for 36, 3 to 40, maybe at maximum. I think that's where the deal is going to land. And look, the Titans are getting Awuzie at a discount right now because Awuzie tore his ACL in 2022. He came back last year. He played 15 games last year coming back from the ACL. So he was durable and reliable, but he wasn't completely himself, okay? He didn't play his best football last year. But prior to that, with the Bengals in 2021 and before he tore his ACL in 2022, he was absolutely phenomenal. Looked like a complete steal for the Cincinnati Bengals, a true number one corner at his size, 6 foot, 200 pounds. He has the ability to be physical. This isn't just somebody in Chidobe Awuzie who's going to play in pass coverage. He is going to be physical in the run game as well. He's not afraid to stick his nose in there and fit his gap and get the ball carrier on the ground. So he's smart. He's physical. He's versatile. He can play man coverage and zone, but he was so good in man coverage for the Bengals before he tore up his knee. Again, he played last year 15 games, was durable, was reliable, wasn't his best self. But I have said this for multiple days now. My everydayers out there who are tuning in Monday through Friday have heard me say this multiple times. Guys who come back from an ACL are better the second year after. So like Harold Landry really turned it on at the end of the year last year after the bye, coming off the ACL. What do you think we're going to get from Harold Landry this year? It is common. It is known that players always are better that second year removed from the ACL. So if the Titans can pay $10 to $13 million a season for a guy who otherwise would have got $20 million a year and get it to where he comes back to his perfect form, to his best form, a year removed from that ACL recovery, that would be absolutely picture perfect for the Titans. My sources in Cincinnati say that he's a great guy, he's a hard worker, that he's somebody who, again, when he was healthy, was absolutely excellent and did everything that the Bengals asked him to do. I really like the signing of Awuzie. I think the Titans need 2 cornerbacks to get somebody who I would consider in that second tier of cornerbacks. There were no tier 1 cornerbacks available. L'Jarius Sneed, franchise tag, Jalen Johnson, long-term deal. I think the Titans got the best cornerback that was available in the next tier. Some people like Kendall Fuller. There were other names out there, but I thought that Chidobe Awuzie would be the best fit for the Tennessee Titans, and he would be the top name that they could actually get, and they got him. So, I mean, I liked Connor Williams. I liked Andre James. I liked Lloyd Cushenberry. The Titans get one of my top guys. I like Chidobe Awuzie. The Titans get my top guy. Now, there were some guys who maybe weren't available for the Titans or went to other teams that maybe the Titans could have got in on, but I'm not going to be able to be mad about what they've done in day one. The Pollard one, again, I give that a B, maybe a B-. I need to see the guaranteed money. I'm not keen on paying a running back that much money, but as a player, literally just as a player in a vacuum, Tony Pollard is a very good football player and a perfect running back by committee option to pair with Tajay Spears. I already said Lloyd Cushenberry. That's an A+ for me. So B- for Pollard, A+ for Lloyd Cushenberry, A- for Chidobe Awuzie. Again, at the end of the day, I thought the Titans dominated. They did great work in day one. And you guys know how it goes. As soon as I record, oh my God, the Chidobe Awuzie contract has just come out. 3 years, $36 million. I called it, baby. I called it down to the dollar. 3 years, $36 million for Chidobe Awuzie. Boom, baby. If you go look at the contract projections that we've been talking about, I said Tony Pollard, $8 million a year. We're waiting on the Cushenberry stuff, but ladies and gentlemen, this is why you watch the Locked On Titans podcast. This is why this is the #1 Tennessee Titans podcast in the world. I'm on fire. I'm on top of it. And every single year for free agency, for the draft, for the season, I am bringing you top tier Tennessee Titans information. Sometimes you guys don't necessarily want to hear everything that I'm telling you, but I promise, stay locked into the Locked On Titans podcast. But that makes us wonder, what comes next? What is the next move for the Tennessee Titans? Well, they were involved in a ton of rumors throughout the day. So here's 5 players that the Tennessee Titans have been rumored to be interested in. Number 1, Calvin Ridley. The Titans need a #1 wide receiver. They need wide receiver help. I think Ridley is a name they should be in on. Also, Michael Onwenu, the offensive lineman. Will he play guard? Will he play tackle? I don't know, but he's going to be expensive. But he's going to be a good lineman wherever he goes. Also, Chauncey Gardner-Johnson, you got the connection with Denard Wilson going back to Philadelphia. I think he would be a good fit with Amani Hooker in the defensive backfield. DJ Reader on the interior defensive line. His price tag, I think, is a little too steep for my liking, but the Titans are reportedly in on him. I think he ultimately goes to the Detroit Lions for more money than the Titans will pay, but the run stuffer from Cincinnati could be an option. And then finally, Eric Armstead, the defensive lineman from San Francisco, just had 6 tackles and a sack in the Super Bowl. A good player. San Francisco in some cap situation where they had to let him go, but he's someone that the Titans are rumored to be interested in. So all 5 of those names make sense. For me, I really want to see the Titans get Calvin Ridley. I really want to see some help at wide receiver. If they don't get Calvin Ridley, though, Hollywood Brown, Darnell Mooney, also still on the board. So Hollywood Brown and Darnell Mooney make a ton of sense for the Tennessee Titans as outside speed threats who maybe won't be as expensive as a Calvin Ridley. Younger guys as well, so maybe they fit the timeline better for the Tennessee Titans. But looking at wide receiver, those are the 3 names. Gabe Davis was signed by Jacksonville. 3 years, $50 million. I think that is an absurd overpay. Don't like what Jacksonville's doing on the day. Anyway, moving right past that. Also, while we're on wide receiver, we're saying T. Higgins requested a trade, but we've been talking about T. Higgins in a trade for weeks. You know what I mean? For weeks. So I've told you guys how I feel about a T. Higgins trade. I've told you guys what I would pay and what I wouldn't pay and don't want to pay for a T. Higgins trade. So, no big deal there. I've already discussed that. I don't want to give up the 2nd round pick, but that's probably what they'll need. Maybe some of you guys do. That's up to you guys. But we've talked about T. Higgins a lot. Looking at offensive tackles, again, I mentioned Michael Onwenu, but he may be a guard. He's only 6'3". I'm not paying big top-tier money for a guard like the Panthers paid with Robert Hunt. Get out of here with that. That is crazy. $100 million for 5 years for a guard? Man, what's going on in the world today? But Jonah Williams, still out there. I don't like the idea, but Mekhi Becton's still out there. Tyron Smith's still out there. I mean, if you guys are listening to this as a podcast tomorrow morning, on Tuesday morning, a lot of this may already be, people may be signed because, it is what it is. But there are still options at offensive tackle for the Titans as well. A ton of them still on the board. You look at safety. The Titans didn't get Geno Stone, who I liked, but Cam Curl is still on the board. Again, Chauncey Gardner-Johnson, who the Titans are rumored to be interested in, still on the board. Geno Stone only got $7.5 million, which we talked about. But that's a good sign for the Titans getting a cheap safety or a value safety. Love that. Every linebacker is still on the board, it feels like. I mean, there haven't been any notable linebackers to come off the board as of the recording of this. None that I was really that worried about. And then backup quarterbacks, Minshew is gone. Brandon Allen is gone. But there are still a ton of options out there. Jeff Okudah, who I liked, is off the board. And Danico Autry went to the Houston Texans. But he got paid $10 million a year. $20 million for 2 years. He's 34. I like Danico Autry, but I'm okay with the fact that the Titans didn't do that. So the Titans bring in Tony Pollard, Lloyd Cushenberry, Chidobe Awuzie. I give it an A- overall for the first day. I think that they should still be interested in Jonah Williams, C.J. Gardner-Johnson, Ronald Darby at cornerback, C.J. Uzomah at tight end, and Calvin Ridley, Hollywood Brown, or Darnell Mooney at wide receiver. The Titans still have work to do. They got money to play with. So very excited to dive into whatever comes next. I'm going to be going live. I'm going to be dropping 1-minute short reaction videos to all the signings if they happen more throughout the night. What an incredibly exciting time. It's a new era for the Tennessee Titans. Get tapped in all the time here on the Locked On Titans podcast. That is going to do it for me today, though, folks. Free agency is here, baby. As always, I am your host, Tyler Rowland, and this was Locked On Titans.